Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. We would like to present hazard identification, risk assessment and risk control Hirarc or job analysis GHA for group NB4N and for class or subject OPM. This slide prepared by Khairul, Izzatul, Masdiana, Haida and Nazria. Okay, introduction for Hirarc safety assessment. We do at Hectech Sedia Berhad from 9 March until 11 March 2025. Maintenance task is annual service of pneumatic UV 50 HV vacuum pump. What is Hirarc? Hirarc is hazard identification, risk assessment, risk and control. Hazard: identify anything that can cause harm, especially machinery and chemical. Next, identification. Recognize hazard: physical, chemical, electrical, agronomic. Risk: evaluate the likelihood and severity of each identified hazard. Assessment: assign risk level like low, medium or high. Risk: apply control measures to eliminate or minimize risk. Control: how to control use PPE, LOTO, procedure, signage, housekeeping and training. Auto identify hazards. Hazard allocate for 4. First, electrical like life circuit during component replacement. Next, chemical like coolant and oil handling can expose to skin and respiratory risk. Next, physical like manual lifting, slips and falls. Then, noise is high discernible output from machinery. How to control measure implemented. First, engineering. What is action taken? Isolate power via LOTO system. Then, as administrative, must do daily toolbox meeting to do SOP briefing. Then, use PPE like gloves, safety shoes, earplugs, goggles, and respirators. Next, signage barriers. Use signage like danger maintenance in program. Then, barriers for physical. Do housekeeping like 5S. Sort, set in order, shine, standard, and sustain. The assessment conducted by competent person. Our competent person is Muhammad Shafi bin Muhammad Yusuf. Scope of the risk assessment: replacement of coolants, air ends, separator filter, change electrical component, servicing. Then, goals for this assessment: identify hazard, evaluate associated risk, and implement and monitor effective control. Then, why must competent person? Qualify and train. Know hazard types, apply correct methods, then ensure safety. Assessment process: hazard identification like physical, chemical, agronomic and electrical. So, category of hazard by type of hazard activity. Like before, I will present. Then, risk evaluation using RNP, risk priority number. After this, my member will present to you all. Then, exiting control review, PPE, procedure training and etc. Lastly, recommendation of additional control. So the result of the competent assessment by our competent person, Mr. Shafi, is hazard correctly identified, RPN risk matrix used accurately, proper control implement before, during and after work, worker safety, preserve zero incident report.
Hi, Assalamualaikum and good morning. My name is Nazria binti Karti and we'll continue the presentation with hazard element for each working situation. There are few types of hazard that is identified, which is electrical, chemical, noise, physical, ergonomic and respiratory. Okay, few activities that were analyzed with risk and consequence and also the hazard, which is when communication breakdown, the risk there will be miscommunication, wrong site access and also task failure. The activity will be informing the site coordinator. The next hazard is electrical hazard. The risk and consequence will be electric shock, serious injury or death. So the activity will be isolate power supply. The next hazard is noise, physical, chemical, dust inhalation. The risk and consequences is hearing loss, eye injury, foot injury and respiratory issues. So the activity will be parts replacement and maintenance. The next hazard is electrical, noise, flammable, chemical hazard. The risk and consequences is fire risk, hearing damage, and electrocution. The activity will be test run vacuum pump. The next hazard is physical hazard. For example, is slippery floor. The risk is slip and fall, sprains, and also fractures. The activity will be housekeeping. The next hazard is chemical exposure, which the risks are skin irritation, inhalation risk. The activity that we can conduct is pump cleaning. And the last hazard is chemical hazard. The risks are skin irritation, long-term health risk. So the activity will be collecting used oil. Next is risk assessment in the company. The risk analysis was carried out thoroughly for each activity involved in the annual maintenance service of the Nuformo Italy UV50 HC vacuum pump. It was carried out based on two main parameters, which are likelihood, which measures the possibility of a hazard to occur, and severity, which represents the potential consequence if the hazard becomes actual. Each activity also included a summary of the control measures that were already established to eliminate or reduce this risk. The risks are categorized into three. The first one is low. The risk is 1 to 4. A risk identified as low may be considered as acceptable and further reduction may not be necessary. However, if the risk can be resolved quickly and efficiently, control measures should be implemented and recorded. The next is medium, which risk is 5 to 12. The medium risk requires a planned approach to controlling the hazard and applies temporary measures if required. Actions taken must be documented on the risk assessment form, including date for completion. And the last is high. High risk is 15 to 25. A high risk requires immediate action to control the hazard as detailed in the hierarchy of control. Actions taken must be documented on the risk assessment form, including date for completion. Okay, from this slide, we can see the highlight form that conducted with Muhammad Sufyan bin Rosali. The hazard is communication breakdown, which is identified as low risk. The next hazard is electric hazard. Is identified as medium risk.
Assalamualaikum everyone. I'm Nur Izzatul Afida binti Ajuddin. Okay, now we move to the third situation, which is to perform maintenance, service and replacement, such as a coolant, air filter, coolant filter, separator filter, elastic element, inlet kit, valve, o-ring, thermostatic, vacuum, visor and cooling air grid. Okay, this can cause a noise hazard and physical hazard. It can cause a damaged hearing, fall, falling object, respiratory distress. So what we can do is training safe work. Okay, and then we can see from the table it's a green color, which is a 2 and it's a low risk. So move to number 4 situation, which is to test run the vacuum pump. Okay, it's involve a electric hazard and chemical hazard, can cause a physical injury and fire. So we the barriers for safe work procedure must be implemented. Okay, we can see from here the risk is a yellow color, which is a medium, number 12. Okay, everyone, we move to the next slide, situation number 5, which is to do proper housekeeping, cleaning work at workplace. Okay, that can involve a physical hazard. The affected is slippery flow causing fall. What we can do is warning sign and barrier. Okay, we can see from here is the risk is green color, which is a low. The next situation, which is number 6, general cleaning of the vacuum pump. Okay, it's involve a chemical hazard and can affect for inhalation and skin irritation. Okay, the risk control is training safe work procedure, and we can see from the table is a low risk. The next 7 situation, wet cleaning, handling, and it's involve a chemical hazard, can cause a inhalation and skin irritation lah. So what we can do is dispose accordance, and it's a low risk, green color. Thank you.
You can see in the slide, the hierarchy of control is a key part of managing workplace hazard. It guides us in choosing the most effective ways to control or eliminate risks. This hierarchy is arranged from the most effective to the least effective methods. First, elimination. This means physically removing the hazard from the workplace. Second, substitution, replacing the hazard with something less dangerous. Next is engineering controls, isolating people from the hazard using equipment or design. Next, administrative controls, changing the way people work, including policies and procedures. Last but not least, PPE, personal protective equipment. This is the last line of defense to protect workers. The goal of risk control is to take action, either reduce or completely remove hazard identified during the HIRAC process, which stand for the hazard identification, risk assessment, and risk. Let's move to the next slide, which outline the risk control measures during maintenance work, specifically for vacuum pump servicing. For the first activity, inform person in charge. Before beginning any work, we must inform the PIC. This includes conducting a safety briefings and toolbox meetings, reviewing safe work procedure and job safety analysis, and daily task monitoring to ensure compliance. For shutdown and isolate power activity, this is a critical safety step to prevent electrical hazard. Workers need to wear rubber gloves, assign the chargeman to isolate or turn off the main switch. Workers also need to apply LOTO, lockout takeout, to ensure power cannot be turned on accidentally. Ensure power is completely off before proceeding. And avoid any contact between electrical components and water. Workers need to use proper PPE throughout the process. Next step is service and parts replacements. Here, we focus on physical and respiratory safety. Workers need to use earplugs or earmuff to prevent hearing damage. Workers need to barricade the area with proper signage, wear proper PPE including cartridge respirators if exposed to vapors, and workers need to apply the buddy system for lifting heavy parts safely. Next, test run vacuum pump. Once servicing is complete, workers need to reapply LOTO procedure before handling switches, remove any flammable items nearby, use PPE, especially for hearing protection, and only the qualified chargeman is allowed to operate and test the pump.
Assalamualaikum everyone, my name is Muhammad Khairul and I would like to continue the risk control that we can do to minimize the hazard when we do the job in the workplace. The step 5 is do the housekeeping. The risk control that we have to do is we have to put the warning sign and barriers to make sure that our worker alert of the hazard that can be occur. And next we do we can also do the try floor before we access the place and do the extra measure that is 5S technique, that is Siri, Siton, Siso, Siketsu and Sisuke. The step 6 is we clean the vacuum pump. The risk control that we have to do is the workers must wear the respirator and glove, and also have to follow the cleaning procedure to make sure that we can avoid the hazard, and also have to ensure the good ventilation when do the job. Step 7 is handle the chemicals. We have to follow the SOP and also have to wear the proper PPE, provide SDF for chemical and label container clearly, and do the proper disposal according to SOP and SDS. Okay, the last part is the conclusion. We know that competent person involvement in higher is very crucial for throughout the prefective assessment. The competent person also possesses a necessary technical knowledge, skill, and experience to manage health and safety in workplace safety effectively. We also know the foster and proactive safety culture within the organization, and also the competent person help to prevent the accident, injuries, and occupational illness.